It's Marcus Washington, MTC Media. I'm going to go and talk about something I talked about back in August of 2024. I did a 3 to Make 2 podcast where I talked about the NBA's European desire, the desire to come up with something together with FIBA for a professional league overseas. And this was not a secret. People just wasn't paying attention. The Olympics was going on, and it was going straight into the NBA season. So people just kind of, oh, here's Marcus and this daggum international basketball that he loves to talk about so much. Um, but today, Adam Silver, after having meetings, I think I had done even an article or a podcast on it. They had meetings over in Europe with EuroLeague owners and FIBA, and they all got three at the table because sometimes it's hard to get FIBA and the EuroLeague at the same table. To get them all at the same table, they were discussing different potential formats, whether it would involve just the NBA and FIBA, whether it would involve the NBA, FIBA, and EuroLeague. Like all of that was put on the table, and then the NBA, Silver and the NBA came back here to discuss. Well, today, Adam Silver announced that they would like for a new league based in Europe to start in 2027 or 2028, which makes sense. 2028 is an Olympic year, and it's here in the United States. And let's not forget, 1 in 6 NBA players are European. So let's not forget how many Europeans. That's not international. 1 in 6 are European. So this idea that this won't be able to work is kind of, for the people who like the naysay on the NBA, I think you're going to be disappointed, because this one is setting up with perfect timing. And I think the set of owners that are now part of this group, part of the NBA ownership ecosystem, I think they're going to see advantages of it. That does not mean, because I think the original thought was those owners in the NBA will not be the owners over here, but the collaboration will help the owners over here. So, and with the ownership groups that are today, this is not your mom and pop ownership groups that most of us grew up with. Like in my area, it was A. Poland. But that's not the NBA ownership ecosystem. Let me scratch that. That's not the professional sports in America ecosystem. It's not just the NBA. It's the NFL. It's all of them. So this is why you've seen NBA expansion push back. And I know Seattle is upset. There's probably a couple other cities upset. The Las Vegases, and I know Mexico City wanted to have a chance in expansion, but there was no way you could throw all this together. And it became more and more apparent that, as you've seen reports and news releases and all this sort of stuff, that the NBA, from Adam Silver, with the blessings of the NBA governors, that the NBA FIBA combination had slowly worked its way up to the top of the list, which is why you got the announcement today. And people didn't want to hear that because, they were worried about expansion. They were worried about, how the WNBA treats, how the WNBA is in relation to the NBA, all these sort of things. And I'm sitting here saying NBA and FIBA, that European collaboration is moving further and further up the list, and no one's paying attention. So that's another thing that you need to think about without going off on a tangent. But with NBA expansion and the WNBA people, the WNBA players being disenchanted with some of the CBA stuff, keep that in mind, that the NBA and FIBA, they're working together for this. And this seems to be a high priority. Because not only is 1 in 6 players European in the NBA, but basketball itself is the fastest growing sport in Europe and is second, I'm sure a distant second, but is second to soccer in Europe. It makes too much sense not to do. Now, the only thing that you can kind of say, but what about? And the but what about is the EuroLeague. as some of their signature franchises, as their contract agreements with the EuroLeague expire, will they be willing to re-up, or does a Real Madrid says, well, our contract expires around the time that this league is supposed to get started. It would be great for us just to slide over to that league. That is one thing that remains to be seen, that has captured my attention, which is how many of the initial franchises are true startup expansions, how many of them are going to be started up by Premier League soccer clubs that now will have a basketball wing, and then how many of them will be existing EuroLeague teams to comprise the initial launch. So still a lot to look for. You know me. You know how much I like FIBA basketball. You know how much I like international basketball. So I'm going to be on top of it. It's Mark Swarcy, MTC Media.